Hi, my name's Dan Fredericks, and I have the privilege of serving as the Executive Director for a mission agency known as UIM International. When UIM originally had its genesis back in 1956, it was known as United Indian Missions. UIM began with just 3 young couples, all in their 20s, and that's exciting to me. One of those couples happened to be my parents, Don and Donna Fredericks. And by their own admission, they were young, a bit naive and untrained in terms of deep knowledge of Native American people. Yet they had a deep heart, burden, and leading of the Spirit of God to work among Native people. My father, Don Fredericks, along with another man by the name of David Clark and another young couple, David and Muriel Chambers, the Lord led those 3 young couples together to be working with a mission called Navajo Bible School and Mission. And Navajo Bible School and Mission had already been established on the Navajo reservation and was being led by a godly man by the name of Dr. Howard Clark. Dr. Howard Clark had a very effective ministry among the Navajo people and felt that that was God's call upon his life. And yet these 3 young couples saw a need for reaching additional Native people in the southwest region of the United States. And so they were granted permission and the blessing of Dr. Clark, and even at the urging of some other Native people, to reach not only the Navajo people, but also the Havasupai in the tributary of the Grand Canyon, and on top of the Grand Canyon in western Arizona, northwestern Arizona, the Wallapai tribe. Well, the little mission was then formulated as United Indian Mission. And it wasn't too long after this genesis of reaching these tribal people in the northern part of Arizona that they were approached with another opportunity. As it turns out, British Columbia, Canada had a group of tribal people known as the Carrier. They were linguistically related to the Navajos, an Athabascan tribal group. And so soon the Lord brought to UIM a man who had an airplane, and he desired to reach the Native people up in British Columbia, Canada, flying into remote villages along the lakes, and then even in the wintertime, fitting his small 180 Cessna with skis that he might fly in even in the winter months. And so then the Lord opened up that field to UIM. It was soon after that that the Lord brought another family to UIM who had a heart for reaching into Mexico. Originally, UIM hadn't planned to go into Mexico, but that seemed to be the leading of the Spirit of God. And so within just the very early 5 to 10 years of UIM, they were now ministering in Canada, United States, and Mexico. The Native American people in North America are diversified, are in need of the gospel of Jesus Christ, as much now as they were then. UIM International began in 1956 with the purpose of establishing indigenous churches with indigenous leadership. When these 3 young couples I mentioned previously had begun to work among Native people, it was their heart to see indigenous churches being led by indigenous Native leadership. It had been the practice and the pattern up to that point in missions to have Native people involved, but for the most part they were translators for missionaries. But it was seen that for the church to really grow and for the effectiveness of the ministry among Native people, it was most important that Native people be raised up, be trained, lead among their own churches. And so that really is the heart of UIM International. Well, in the course of seeking to establish churches, which continues to be the main focus of UIM, many ministries have been generated over the last 60 years. One of the most effective ministries has been the camping ministry. In Canada, in the United States, and also in Mexico, UIM International has effective outreach to children, teens, through their camping ministry. In British Columbia, Canada, we have the Rock Nest Ranch Ministry. In New Mexico, in the United States, we have the Broken Arrow Bible Ranch, and in the country of Mexico, the ministry of the Alpha Omega Camp. The effectiveness of these ministries has been children over these years who have come to know Christ as their Savior. They return to camp and next thing you know, they become wranglers, workers, helpers. Soon they disciple into the process of becoming leaders, discipling themselves, and over the course of the years, we have the joy of seeing many of these young people, now adults, leading among their own people with their own ministries. That's just one example of how UIM International has used other ministries to see the church strengthen among Native people. UIM also has ministries of outreach, not only in Canada, U.S., and Mexico, but has an aviation ministry as well. And the aviation ministry has been very effective, not only in Canada where it began, but now in the country of Mexico, reaching into remote village areas and taking the gospel of Jesus Christ. But most importantly of all in that process, taking indigenous leaders into those mountain villages. UIM has the joy of taking Native leaders to teach theological education by extension in remote areas of the mountains of Mexico, and to see the indigenous church established there in those mountain villages as well. And so we are grateful that through a variety of ministries and means, the gospel of Jesus Christ continues to be going forward, and the church established in Canada, United States, and Mexico.